What's this a picture of, Phil?
The blue one, the blue circle one.
Blue one, yeah, yeah.
That is a picture of an extremophile, and the extremophile that Christian book implanted the gene into.
Amazing.
Deinococcus radiodurans. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So an extremophile, just to quickly re-summarize, although we were talking about them on one of my lives quite recently, is something that can survive in really extreme conditions, considering what there is on most of Earth. So on most of Earth, you know, it's normally between about like minus 20 degrees and plus 30 or something. The extremophiles are things that will quite happily cope with 150 degrees or minus 200 degrees. They'll cope with the vacuum of space, which most life never has to cope with, and they'll cope with going without food or water and so on. Now, this extremophile, though, is very special in that it can not only cope with a lot of those things that I've just listed, but it can do one other thing that is extremely rare and has prompted a lot of scientists to think that maybe it comes from somewhere more mysterious than you might first think. Phil, do you want to take over?
This is the alien bacteria.
Sorry, Phil, do you want to talk about why he wanted to use this bacteria?
I believe he wanted to use this bacteria because he wanted stability. He wanted to create a poem that would be eternal. And even after the sun explodes, he wanted there to be a poem created by him existing in the universe. And to do that, he was thinking, well, you know, metal would disintegrate, everything would go. But maybe there would be an extremophile that would still be replicating his little poem over and over in the vacuum of space.
Amy was like, wow.
Do you have anything particularly about Deinococcus radiodurans, Matthew?
Yeah, sorry, I did prepare. I have looked at stuff on that. Sorry, I thought that you wanted to talk about it. Yeah, so Deinococcus radiodurans. So let's break apart the words since this is that half English, half science. So Deinococcus. Ooh, does anyone know where that name comes from? I'm so bad at spelling things. Anyway, the root of the word is that it is dinosaur chickens.
Dinosaur chickens.
Yeah. Now the root of the word is terrible berry. Terrible. I don't know why. I think it's to do with the glow that it can produce. But it also could be terrible grain. Anyway, that's not the important bit. The important bit is the word that goes after. So it's Deinococcus and then radiodurus. So radiodurus, it's durable with radiation. So if you expose this bacteria to extreme levels of radiation, someone was talking about tardigrades able to survive nuclear bombs. That's true that some tardigrades can survive nuclear bombs. But this bacteria, above and beyond all bacteria in the world that we've ever discovered anything about, which is why people are theorizing about it potentially coming from a different planet. Although I personally am really skeptical about that. But it is cool, the idea that it could have come from there. And the reason I think it is because why would something have evolved to be so durable to radiation? Like, you can shine the most intense gamma radiation on this bacteria and it will still then reproduce and conquer food or whatever it is that you give it. So they've done experiments where they show that food is still spoiling even when it's been exposed to like the most intense gamma radiation blasts that should kill all life. And yet this survives because it has evolved to completely protect its DNA. So whereas, you know, the radiation blasts destroy DNA, and that's why they destroy us, because our cells then can't produce the things they need to produce in order to stay alive. But Deinococcus radiodurans can not only protect its DNA really well, it can also repair it really well. So if it loses an entire half of its DNA, so if one of the halves gets entirely destroyed, and the remaining half has loads of gaps in it where there's information that seems to be missing, Deinococcus radiodurans can somehow reconstruct it and rebuild it and build it back into a double-stranded sequence again in ways that we're still baffled by, and we're looking into for ways that we can help ourselves to resist cancers and things like that, because this is essentially completely immune to, well, it's a bacteria, so it can't get cancer because that doesn't make sense. But if it were a larger living thing, it would presumably be immune to it because it's so good at protecting its DNA. But not just that, if you get two cells of Deinococcus radiodurans and you put them next to one another, then if one of them is more damaged than the other, they will literally feed DNA to one another, like between the cells, in order to repair one another. And so that's another way they can. So if you put a poem inside one of these, then it will continue spreading and spreading and spreading, and even if it's exposed to the radiation of the sun, it'll still be fine.
One thing that's truly amazing about this is that the content of the poem that Christian Book wrote mirrors this exact philosophy. He wrote this poem in a style that was kind of, it's actually a set style of poetry invented by the ancient Greeks. It's called pastoral poem. And a pastoral poem was normally a shepherd boy who saw a beautiful goddess or some nymphs and then went, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful, I want to be with you. And so the first half of the poem, he calls it Orpheus, the music player from ancient Greece. And it's sort of praising life and saying, I'm gonna play on my lyre, I'm gonna play on my instrument, I'm gonna celebrate life, and I'm gonna moan for it, I'm gonna like yearn for it. And then the reply is almost like the germ reply, but the goddess reply is like, oh, stay my lyre, like just settle down, like it's almost like a bit of a cold kind of a little bit of a rejection there. We wean him of any milk, like it's just a bit of a like ease up, champ. I know you're trying, but don't come near me. So moan more grief with any loss. Like don't sort of try to praise me. Instead, this is sort of like a bit of a lament. And so arguably this last poem that's gonna exist maybe when all of us are gone, the sun is gone, encased in this extremophiles protected DNA and then spreading and repairing throughout the cosmos, is humanity's reaching for something more and then maybe realizing the cold, hard realities of the vacuum of space. It's a pretty sobering thought. Yeah.
I love how it flips as well. The call and response is so cool.